Rick, can you say something?
I'm sorry?
Rick is asking me if we can hear him.
Oh.
I can't hear him.
No, he keeps muting and unmuting.
Okay, so unmute. You can't? Do you see it at the bottom of the screen? On the bottom left? Is maybe your volume needs to be turned up on your actual laptop? No, I can't hear you.
No.
I don't know what to tell you.
Can you call in by phone versus computer audio?
Yep, in the email link from Zoom, there's a way to call in via phone.
Yeah, you can use your smartphone and link on and get the volume that way, Rick. Okay. Well, at least you can hear us, so that's good.
Yeah, we should probably get this party started then.
Yes, let's keep going. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead and click broadcast. As soon as I click broadcast, I'm sure there are hordes of people waiting to get in, but all the people waiting to get into the Zoom on the attendee side can access this.
Okay.
And then once we hit broadcast, you guys can start broadcasting Peabody TV as well whenever you're ready then.
Okay.
And then if you let Stephanie know when to go, we'll begin then. So I'm gonna hit. Okay, so I'm gonna hit broadcast in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Najjar.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Welcome to the Peabody Institute Library trustee meeting. We have a special session for the interview process of our assistant library director, and her name is Al Hayden. And we are going to welcome Al, but first we would like to formally do our roll call. And go ahead, Madeline, please.
Sure. So Stephanie Najjar.
Here.
Richard Struhan. He's here with us. We can't hear him. I can see him. Peter Bakula.
Here.
Kate O'Brien.
Here.
Ann Quinn.
Here.
John McAllister.
He's coming on now.
Okay. I see his name there, or his name. Stephanie Delaire is absent. Morgan Gio.
Here.
Francis Galugi is absent, and Tom Pappas.
Here.
Thank you.
I think you missed me, Madeline, West Merrill.
Oh, I'm so sorry, West Merrill.
That's okay. I'm here.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madeline. Okay, and at this time, I would like to welcome Al Hayden to our, as a guest to our screen.
Yeah. There she is.
Here she comes.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Al. How are you? Thank you for joining us and welcome.
My pleasure.
Yes, and I want to thank you for your application. We received your cover letter, your resume, your references. It is very clear that you are very passionate about our library and the work that you do. So we're going to ask a few questions. We are a little tight for time. We want to keep the window small so we can continue with our regular trustee meeting thereafter. So let's go ahead with a few questions for you, okay? And a few just topics to discuss.
All right.
Great. So just generally speaking, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you are interested in this position and where you come from and what you bring to this job?
Okay. So this was only very briefly mentioned, not really highlighted on my resume, but I have nearly 20 years of administrative experience outside of the library. That experience includes human resources. It includes codifying institutional knowledge and procedures, improving workflows, and extensive customer service experience. So before I even came into libraries, I had a lot of those transferable skills, not just for librarianship, but for an administrative position. I was chosen for the positions that I've held in the Peabody Library, not just for my enthusiasm and my dedication, but my ability to breathe life into departments that were performing not as well as people had hoped. And coming out of that, I have a proven record of improving departmental performance, expanding departmental reach within the community, and collaborating more within the library. When I was at the South Branch, we connected a lot more with the main branch and the West Branch libraries than we had previously. When I was at Children's, we worked really collaboratively with the teen department, doing some overlapping programs and doing a lot more multi-generational projects, and connecting more with the community as well. Um, as I think it does for all of you, the current situation in the library saddens me a great deal. But my particular skill set and experience are also weirdly uniquely suited to this kind of a situation. If I've been able to build up departments that might have been a little bit flagging before, that's kind of a similar situation that we're in the library right now. Certainly nobody expected a pandemic, and certainly this is not through the fault or the lagging of anybody who's been in the library. It's quite honestly quite the contrary. I can't speak enough of the people who have stuck around and really put their nose to the grindstone. Um, but I have the experience and the knowledge to be able to bring the library forward and come out the other side of all of this in a stronger place, whatever that may look like for whatever the world looks like for when we come out of this. And my experience was on a smaller scale. This would be obviously on a larger scale, but I think I'm up for the challenge.
Excellent. Okay. Well, since you brought it up, the COVID thing. So during these unprecedented times, what role should a library play in this life, in the community, of its community during this time?
Well, so when you're looking at the world at large, I think everybody is finding out that under such extreme circumstances as we're in right now, every city is becoming a microcosm of what's going on in the world. There are people who are unhappy with their certain situations. There are people who are disenfranchised. There are people with needs of all levels and all different varieties, no matter what they are, wherever you are, whatever your here is, all of that is within that definition of here. People who have needs aren't elsewhere anymore. And what better way to connect these people with the resources that are inherently free and reliable? And that's what libraries are able to offer. We're able to offer free by our very definition. And we're also able to offer resources that are researched, reliable, and facts that you're able to find to make your own decision for whatever you're comfortable with. I think we need to be strategic and remember what a library is and what a library isn't. We are great touch points for resources, whether that resource is recreational reading or a DVD, whether that resource is a primary source database, whether that resource is an organization or a person in the community that we can reference somebody to. We are great at being content curators. We are not, with some very, very notable exceptions, but not as a rule, we're not content makers. But we are fantastic at supporting and putting people in touch with content makers. We are not healthcare workers, but we can absolutely tell people where the free COVID testing sites that are closest to them are. We're not social workers, but when the eviction ameliorations, it's kind of looking like those are going to be lifted come October, we can absolutely put people in touch with the resources and the organizations they need to help them find a new place to live or help landlords be compassionate with the tenants that they have. And I've said in my cover letter a few times that the Peabody Library is a cornerstone of its community. And I firmly, firmly believe that now in these unprecedented times more than ever. And I think libraries at large, what they strive to be and what they should be is the cornerstone of the community, making those connections.
Great. Okay, so looking a little bit to the future, what new services and initiatives would you like to introduce, meeting some of the needs that, we are lacking on or due to the current situation over the next month, 6 months?
So I think we need to keep in mind the safety of everybody involved. That includes patrons, that includes staff, that includes passersby. I think passive programming opportunities, touchless programming opportunities, and outdoor opportunities like story walks, virtual programs, things that can be interactive on people's own time, because I think especially now as well, people's time is far more valuable and much more stretched and much more limited than it has been in the past, even when people already were a bit overstretched. So I think programming options like that are things that can help people still connect with us, but in new, safe, socially distant ways. I think solidifying and creating and getting deeper in with our existing community connections that will allow us to have all of the resources that these patrons need that we may not be able to provide, but again, we can curate for them. We can have them at the ready, and we can say, I'm sorry, the library doesn't offer that service. However, we have this resource for you here, this resource for you here. Get in touch with this person and they will be able to help you from here. So I think really making those community connections is a really good way forward for us. And I think adding to the library's existing community socially distant events that we have, figure out what other organizations fit with the library's mission and goals, and also figure out who we can partner with to support those community members, and also participate in socially distant events that may already be happening in the city. So for example, I know Peabody Main Streets is looking to do something throughout the city throughout October. I think that's a perfect opportunity for the library to be represented in the community, to be embedded in the community, and to still offer our services in a way that reflects how the times are right now, sort of meeting the people where they are.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you. That's a good answer. Moving on to more of a management point of view, how do you manage people successfully? And then I'd like to move on to improving employee morale, especially during these unprecedented times.
Absolutely. So one thing that I've always brought forth, one thing that I always valued as an employee and that I've tried to take into my management style is to never give an answer without a reason. If it's a yes, I know people are really delighted to often have a yes, but I'd like them to have a picture of why it's a yes, why it is such a good idea. Not only does that build up the person who's coming to you with that idea to say, yes, that is a fantastic idea, but to also explain to them that, you know what, yes, ideally, if they're coming to me with something for a yes, they probably have a good idea of it anyway, but at least explaining to them or confirming their knowledge that that is exactly the way we're going in this moment in time, that fits beautifully with our mission and goals. That is a really good way to represent ourselves to the community at large. And I really think that this will add to what we're doing. And also, if it's a no, then to let people know that in most cases, it's a perfectly valid idea. It's just not right for that particular time. So rather than just giving them a hard no and saying, nope, sorry, can't do it, pass, next idea, to give them a reason, to make them feel valued, to express my appreciation for them coming to me with an idea, because that's not always an easy thing to do for anybody. You always make yourself a little bit vulnerable when you come to somebody with an idea. So if you're saying no to them, at least say, here's why. This may work great in a library of a larger scale. Like this probably would work really, really well in the Boston Public Library, but for our community right here, this probably isn't going to be the best for us right now. It may be something that is a fantastic idea that we want to put forth, but not at this particular moment. Like that's not a great spring program, but you know what? I bet you people will be thinking about that in the fall. So I try very hard not to give an answer without some kind of reasoning behind it. I also try to give my employees the tools that they need to be confident. I'm really big on sharing resources with them. I work very hard to acknowledge any concerns that they have and make sure that they feel validated and heard. And that also goes into, I think, a lot with what you were asking about employee morale. You know, especially right now, people are scared. And I don't blame them. I think, you know, I think everybody's scared, whatever that level of scared may be to them. Some people are terrified. Some people are just like, I'm just a little nervous. But having somebody say, you know what, yes, your concerns are absolutely valid. Working really hard to make sure that the staff fully understands that their safety is mine and Kate's primary priority, as well as the safety of our patrons. Trying to make sure that the staff feel valued and heard. I've been saying thank you a great deal because basically everybody has gone above and beyond. People have really just dug down into the trenches and been flexible and been really great. So, you know, when you ask somebody to move a shift or do something else, like that never goes without a thanks or an acknowledgement. I also think it helps a little bit of morale, the fact that I want this job so badly and I want to stay. I think when you have somebody, like, I think when you have somebody going into a management position that isn't saying, like, nah, we're in a sinking ship, I'm out. You know, this library means a lot to me.
Right.
And I hope that the other staff recognize that. And I hope that boost their morales in ways that we can't right now. I mean, I would love to bring in a giant tray of baked goods and just say, hey, thanks for all your hard work, but that's not a particularly safe avenue of morale boosting right now. So.
Oh, that's great. Oh, Anne, we're going to do questions in just a minute.
Can I just interrupt?
Yes.
I just want to say that my experience, a lot of my experience with Al has been through the Peabody Education Foundation.
Mhm.
And I want to say thank you for all the work you did to support that activity with our, you know, the reading with the children. That was just wonderful.
No, thank you, Anne.
Another thing I want to say was when I read your letter and I got to the end, I was almost in tears. It was so special and wonderful. So
thank you. That means a lot.
I want to get that in.
I
before you
put
finish
a
up.
lot of heart into that cover letter, so I'm
You
glad
did,
that
absolutely, and it showed.
Thank you. And the Peabody Education Foundation is exactly the type of community connection that I want to foster and
Oh,
grow because I think they do
absolutely,
wonderful things for the community.
absolutely.
And I think we're a great partner for them.
Right. That's great. You know, you are passionate, Al, and your hard work up until this point, even just the whole time that you've been interim assistant director, shows what a kind of commitment you have to the library and dedication and all of that. And we are so grateful. I know this whole board is grateful for you stuck it out and you waited patiently, and we appreciate it because these times have just, you know, created a different timeline that was out of the ordinary. So we do appreciate that very much. And I would just like to open it up to the board. If anyone has any questions for Al, they'd like to ask her. Go ahead, Anne.
I'm just curious what your experience was before you got into the library business.
I was 7 years as an office manager for an international company. I did. I was very up on international shipping regulations in public policy. I codified all of the institutional knowledge. One of my references that I actually gave was the person who took over that job after I had it. And part of the reason she was willing to be a reference for me is that I actually know her. She's in a different position now, but I know her through my connection in Rotary. And
Oh,
she still talks about the binders that I left behind and the best that they were to her throughout that entire job. Before that, I was in academia and customer service. I did a lot of work in college, and I did a lot of temping between college and grad school and grad school and grad school. So that gave me a really wide variety of administrative customer service experiences that I was able to bring into the library as well.
Can anybody hear me now?
Yes, hi, Rick.
oh, this Richard.
Thank God.
Rick, do you have any
I
questions?
have a question.
Yeah.
I got a kick out of, and I noticed that you have a degree in biology. Most library people do not have that. So I found that interesting.
I am every bit a science nerd. Whenever the kids came into the department asking for things like animal projects or science experiment stuff, I'm like, come to me, child. I got you. So yeah, so
That's nice.
yeah.
It is nice.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and my undergraduate degree was in biology as well. So
Oh,
we are soulmates.
yeah.
Excellent. That's excellent. Anybody else for Al? Questions? Okay.
I don't think there's a need.
Yeah, I know. Al, you're great. Okay, so thank you again for coming and joining us this evening.
No problem. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate
Very
it.
welcome. You're very welcome. So at this time, the trustees need to go into executive session. So any patrons and guests listening, we ask you to just exit the webinar, and we will be back in 10 minutes you can join us back at that time. Okay. So thank you. So trustees will stay on. And again, thank you, Al.
Thank you again.
thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you,
I really
Al.
appreciate the opportunity to talk about my experience.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Stephanie, I have a question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back to our library trustee meeting. I'm sorry.
Oh,
We just came out of a session. So here we go. We are opening up our meeting with a roll call. Go ahead, Madeline, please.
Sure. Stephanie Najjar,
Present.
Richard Truhan. I think we have the thumbs up from Rich. Peter Bakula,
Yeah.
Kate O'Brien. I think she's here, right? Okay. Ann Quinn,
yes, here.
Don McAllister,
Here.
Wes Merrill,
Yeah.
Stephanie Delaire is absent, Morgan Yeo,
Here.
Francis Galugi, absent, and Tom Pappas.
Here.
And
Thank you.
I think,
Madeline, I'm here. I lost internet for a
Right.
second.
right.
Yep. Thank you, Rich.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to start our meeting off by announcing that Alyssa Hayden has been accepted as the new Assistant Director for the Peabody Institute Library. We just completed our executive session and the vote was unanimous to accept her in her new role. So welcome, Al. We are pleased to have you join the library staff, and we're looking forward to working closely with you in the future. So as we move along, we did all receive the minutes from the last meeting, and I'd like to know if we hear a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Ann, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you. Okay, any receipt of communication, Miss Merrill?
Nope.
Merrill, I'm calling you Merrill, like West Merrill, sorry. Okay, and at this time, Kate, would you please give us your library director's report?
So I will note that in the staffing section, there's an addition to it that I'll just read from my copy, and I'll send out the updated version later. So good evening, everybody, and congratulations to Assistant Director Hayden. This is the director's report to the Board of Library Trustees for September 2020. Staffing. Library staff are now working 4 of 5 weekdays in the building and a 5th day remotely. After Labor Day, Saturday hours were increased to a full 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. with curbside pickup available from 10 to 4, the same as the Monday through Thursday hours. Unilia Videra has resigned from her position of Sunday reference librarian after 18 years with the library. We will miss her dedication to the library and wish her the best of luck and hope that we are able to welcome her and her family back to the library as soon as it's safe to open to the public. Unilia has been such an integral part of the library, and I am personally so sorry that we're not able to open on Sundays due to our budgetary constraints, so that she may continue to share her expertise and kindness with our Sunday patrons. Eric Bauer has resigned from his position as archivist effective 9/24. He and his family are relocating, and I wish them the best of luck. Eric has worked tirelessly to protect and share our historical collections with the public, and I'm grateful for all of the work that he's done in digitizing the collection so that it is accessible to all, especially during this time of virtual and online access. I wish him well in his future as an archivist and librarian and hope that he can continue to share his enthusiasm for history and archives with the public. With our extensive archives and historical collections, it is necessary to have an archivist on staff. Our collections need tending, and our remaining staff does not have this technical knowledge or experience. This position is funded in the FY21 budget, so I will request to fill this position and plan on adjusting the job description to reflect our need for both archives expertise and public services support. And the new information that I just got this in from this afternoon, we have had another resignation. Jahira Cosme, the West Branch Children's Librarian, has also resigned effective 9/24. Jahira and her family are relocating, and we wish her the best in her library science studies and future youth services librarianship. She has brought her love of children's literature and children's services to both the main library and West Branch, and we will miss her dedication to the young people of Peabody. This position is also funded in the FY21 budget, and I feel should also be filled as the West Branch now only has 2 staff members left. With these 3 resignations and 1 staff member who is working remotely indefinitely, we now have an in-building staff of 19 people responsible for keeping 3 locations up and running, providing curbside services, and providing phone and online services. That's it for staffing, I promise. Reopening. So we regularly receive inquiries from patrons regarding when we will be able to reopen the buildings to the public. What follows is a summary of our current situation and near future plans. The main library is staffed for phone, email, and online help from 9 to 5 on Mondays through Thursdays and Saturdays, with curbside services available from 10 to 4. The branches are staffed by remaining branch staff on Mondays through Thursdays for retrieving holds, checking in returned materials, and reshelving materials. Due to the FY21 staffing reductions, we are unable to open on Fridays or Sundays. In conjunction with City Hall, we will make a decision at the end of the month based on the success of the school's reopening regarding opening the main library for appointment-based computer use. Assistant Director Hayden and I are finalizing our computer use plan and will send it to you for approval by the end of the week. We hope to add evening hours if and when we add public computer use, but this will be difficult to staff due to the numbers of staff that are needed for curbside services, phone and online services, basic branch operations, and the addition of this public computer use. When we open for computer use, staff will return to the buildings full-time. Curbside, phone, and virtual and online services will continue indefinitely at the main library. Browsing at the main library is not included in our current plans at the moment, as a national study looking into the presence of the virus on library materials has found that the virus is detectable on common library materials like plastic book jackets and DVD cases for up to 6 days when stacked or on shelves. Due to the size and layout of the main library, it would be very difficult to ensure that any materials touched by patrons are safely quarantined and any surfaces touched by patrons were immediately cleaned and sanitized. And then there's a link to information about the Realm study if you'd like to do more reading. In addition to safety concerns, we do not have sufficient staffing levels to maintain curbside services, online and phone services, public computer supervision, evening hours, and the addition of extra cleaning and patron supervision that would be necessary to keep everyone safe during browsing. Because curbside pickup operates out of the children's room, and because browsing would add to the burden on our remaining staff, I feel that we would only be able to successfully and safely offer one of these services to the public with our current staffing levels. Curbside services currently serve an average of 50 patrons per day, and I feel that this is the best and safest way to serve our patrons at this time and the best use of our staff's efforts and resources, given the availability of online and virtual services to help with virtual browsing. And then, as we all know, due to the FY21 staffing reductions, we are unable to add curbside services, computer use, or browsing at the branches for the foreseeable future.
Oh,
I agree.
Yeah, I know. It's a big ugh and a big sigh. I know.
And then a summary of the services that we are offering right now. Curbside pickup of books, DVDs, audiobooks, and other materials placed on hold from all 3 branches serves an average of 50 patrons per day out of the main library parking lot. Curbside printing allows patrons to email us documents, which we then print for free, up to 10 pages, and make available for pickup during our curbside hours. Curbside museum passes are available for online reservations and curbside pickup. Curbside 3D printing began last week, allowing patrons to email us files, which Creativity Lab librarian Mike Ahern prints and makes available for curbside pickup. He has also begun virtual programming in which patrons learn to create a project that he then prints for them. And then library takeout allows patrons to choose from a menu of genre, age, and material categories that are then chosen by staff and made available for curbside pickup. More information is available at www.peabodylibrary.org/takeout. And then coming soon, our Library of Things. Senior Adult Services and Public Programming librarian Gabrielle Latoth has added many new items for patrons to check out, from projectors to games to gardening tools, and they will be available via a new website page over the next few weeks. 7 additional Wi-Fi hotspots will also be available for checkout for a total of 10. Grab and go crafts for all ages. Beginning at the end of September, takeout themed craft kits will be available each Saturday morning for all ages for pickup at the main library. First come, first serve as supplies last. And then one-on-one Zoom browsing for parents and educators. To help parents and educators who need to see interest level and reading levels of books, patrons may request books for a certain age and or about a certain topic, and will meet with children's and teen staff via Zoom to virtually browse a curated selection of books that will then be available for curbside pickup.
That's nice.
Programming. The Peabody Institute Library Foundation will sponsor a virtual concert with Anya Minogue and a 4-part virtual lecture series with Professor Theo Harris about American dramas. The dates have yet to be confirmed, but these programs will take place via Zoom later this fall, and the books for Professor Theo Harris's lectures will be available via side pickup. Also in the works are meditation, yoga, and other wellness programs for adults. The Peabody Institute Library was awarded a grant from the MBLC to assist us in offering virtual programming for our community. In this first phase of programming, we are using the funds to offer programming that informs residents about the history of voting, including the suffrage movement, which is celebrating its 100-year anniversary this year. On this Wednesday, September 16th, the library is offering a lunchtime program with Wentworth Institute of Technology professor Allison Lang entitled Picturing Political Power, Images in the Women's Suffrage Movement. This free program will explain the importance of photographs and other types of images in gaining support for women to be granted voting rights in the US. We welcome you to join us at 1 o'clock this Wednesday via Zoom. And then on September 22nd, National Voter Registration Day, we will be offering virtual programming to help educate local voters on the upcoming election. We will be encouraging people in our community to cast a ballot in the upcoming election, and information about absentee ballots, registering to vote, changes in local in-person voting, and more will be covered. Later in the fall, we plan to offer other events about searching for work to help support people who have recently lost their jobs. In addition, we hope to offer information to assist local small businesses, as well as highlight other important resources to help our community survive this difficult time in our country. Building and grounds. The main library elevator is awaiting repairs by City Elevator so that it may pass annual re-inspection by mid-October.
No kidding.
And then over Labor Day weekend, a dead battery in an instant alarm fire alarm system caused the tripping of main library fire alarms, and the fire department was called 3 times before it was discovered that the faulty battery was the cause of the alarms. Thank you to our custodian Dominguez for spending his Sunday morning dealing with this issue. Budget. I did send along the current budget for your review. It was just camera pictures taken of the budget because I was not in today. There is nothing of concern in terms of spending, but please note that the Noble technology and support fees are front-loaded, and the majority are paid at the beginning of the fiscal year from the software and IT services line item. Any questions about the budget? No? Okay. President Najjar and I will be requesting a meeting with the mayor regarding our current funding situation and our place in the city's budget as a whole. I am also working on state financial reporting process, which includes applying for the state certification waiver. Budget documentation from the city and letters from the city and library, President Najjar and myself, regarding the budget process are due to the MBLC in mid-October. The MBLC will vote on libraries requesting waivers in February of 2021. At this time, if we are denied a waiver, you know this already, likely given our 17% cuts in compared to the citywide cuts of just under 3%. We will then, with the city, appeal that decision to be voted on at the final April 2021 MBLC meeting. The MBLC takes into account any funds added to our budget prior to that April 2021 vote. As of April 2021, if the MBLC does not grant us a waiver, Peabody residents and library card holders will lose access to interlibrary loans from other Noble libraries, as well as Commonwealth Catalog statewide materials. They will also not be able to use their cards at neighboring Noble libraries to check out materials. We will also not receive the annual $67,000 in state aid funding that funds programming, supplements materials, technology, and building budgets, and funds Audubon print conservation. And then policy. As with every other Noble library, we have not been charging overdue fines since we opened in July. I'm requesting that we officially extend the moratorium on overdue fines until January 1st, 2021. I feel that overdue fines, especially in the time of a pandemic and economic downturn, create more barriers to patrons using our services when they need us the most. Additionally, patrons are not able to physically pay fines in the library. They may pay by credit card, but that adds an additional processing fee. When we do reopen, paying fines with cash will add safety issues regarding the touching of money and passing money back and forth between staff and patrons. Our overdue fines, in addition to fees for lost and damaged books, which we will continue assessing, and printing and copying fees, go into a revolving fund, and then that money is seen in our annual books and materials budget from the city. I have long believed in the importance of eliminating all overdue fines permanently and had hoped to propose this upon being named director, but now worry that our books and materials budget would suffer in the long run, especially now that it's greatly reduced and we are not bringing in any printing or copying funds. A moratorium is a compromise that removes usage barriers for our patrons in the immediate future, while hopefully not putting our funding for books, materials, and online databases and resources at greater risk. According to my calculations, the library brought in approximately $4,000 in only overdue fines last year, not including lost or damaged items and printing or copying fees. Therefore, I'm requesting that the board discuss and vote on an overdue fines moratorium on Peabody items to last until January 1st, 2021. And then the last bit about the Audubons. The Peabody Institute Library Foundation met virtually last week and voted to suspend their financial support of Audubon print conservation until a time when the library is appropriately funded by the city. Former library director Martha Holden stated that the city is under legal obligation to preserve the prints and that the library took on this responsibility in the early 1990s when funding was robust. Without foundation funding, the library would be responsible for 100% of the restoration costs. There is currently $11,000 allocated from existing state aid funds for restoration and approximately $17,000 in the Sawitsky Trust, which pays the other third. After paying $7,500 from each account for the batch of prints that was returned in July, there would be $3,500 left in allocated state aid and $9,500 in the Sawitsky Trust. I do not feel that it is a prudent use of our limited funds to send any prints for restoration at this time, as those remaining state aid funds will not be replenished this year as we anticipate losing state certification. And the Sawitsky Trust may also be needed for supplements to our materials budget, as it may be used for literature and art. I am requesting that the board discuss this year's planned conservation of Audubon prints as it was proposed at the August 2020 meeting that each funding source, Foundation, Sawitsky, and State Aid, contribute $2,000 each towards a small batch of prints this year. The end.
Okay, thank you. Let's open up some discussion. Any questions for Kate or concerns?
Kate, I had one question. This is Don. I heard that Eric is leaving and there was a lady from the south. I didn't catch her name.
The West Branch. The Children's Library from the West Branch is leaving.
Rachel, did you say?
Jahira. Her name's Jahira.
Okay, thank you.
She took over as children's librarian after Dale retired last year.
Okay, thank you. We just wanted to make sure I had that.
I have a comment on the Audubon prints. I agree with Kate that I don't think we should spend any money right now in these uncertain times on restoration. And I also want to point out, I didn't have a chance to send it to everybody, but I found comments on the judgment in our archives at the library. And I can email you the category number.
Yes.
It's pretty interesting reading.
Please do.
One of the things that came up at our foundation meeting about the amount of money spent for the restoration was, what is the requirement under the lawsuit for the maintenance, restoration, conservation? So Richard, if you have you have something related to that, I'd be interested in.
And I'll send Kate the category number. I literally found it in our archives.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Library. And
Yeah.
it was a motion submitted October 1st, 1989, and it discusses it, but it never discusses any amounts of money. It discusses that we should take care of them.
Okay.
So anyway, it's pretty long. I'm not going to speak about it.
Send that to me. I'd like to see that as well, because there was a lawsuit, and I'm trying to follow up with that.
Well, I assumed Kate was going to send it to everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, fine.
Yeah, so Kate, yeah, thank you
Great.
for doing that. So Rick, you'll send it to Kate. Well, that's my point too, is that we've made this effort and we've been good caretakers all these years of the prints.
Right.
And I feel like in these unprecedented times to take a break for a year or two is not that's not negligence. We have a proven track record of caring and taking care of. It's a shame we have to pause, but I don't think it means, you know, that we're never going to do it again and that we're being negligent. So I just.
But it would be useful to see exactly what
Oh, sure.
is in terms of the requirements under that lawsuit.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need to, well, we'll wait until we get into the business, but you don't actually need a vote on that. Do
No.
you? Kate, we don't need to vote on that, right?
I guess not. I thought that it's kind of
No.
a big deal to pause that funding for a year. So I thought we should kind of put it on the record and make it official, that we're doing it for a reason, not just getting to.
And Anne's comment about the foundation at the meeting we just had Wednesday night, they are under no obligation to fund the restoration project. They gladly took it on, and hopefully in the future they will continue, but it's not.
Well, that's why I think it would be important to see exactly what the language is.
Yeah, I agree.
Kate, if you're just looking for a consensus, then I definitely agree with postponing maintenance for a year or two until the pandemic is passed.
Stephanie, I think we should make a motion.
I agree.
Put on record.
Yeah. Okay, so any other questions regarding the director's report? I want to fast forward because some of the things she did bring up, I want to talk about under old business and new business, like reopening, the Audubon we will address again with a vote. Staffing, I'd like to bring up under new business. So there's some topics she had discussed that I'd like to, that she brought up, they'd like to discuss under new business and old business.
Can I just quickly ask a question about the business about the waiver? Are there other libraries who are in similar situations like ours that you?
I'm waiting to hear back from other library directors. The ones that I've spoken with, like Beverly and Danvers and Stoneham and Linfield, maybe applying for a waiver, but they're pretty sure they're going to get that because they were not disproportionately cut like we were. They were cut within that 5% cutoff.
Right.
I know that like the Winthrop Library laid off everybody but they're a director and assistant director. So there are other libraries that are in bad situations as well. But I don't think they were libraries that are as big as us and as robust as we were a couple years ago.
Right. And so then I'm wondering, is there anything that we can do to mount some kind of a campaign, a public relations campaign or something? I mean, does the community understand? We've talked to the politicians, but what about the community? Can we let them know what the implications are for this loss of certification?
Again, I mean, that's part of what we do. We advocate. So
we advocate. That's right.
Well, I think we might get again, regarding the budget, we might get a better sense of how the city is even sitting financially when we meet, because I feel like we need to get a pulse of just what's happened over the past couple months. How are things looking? Is there room to just try to, you never know, make things happen. I don't know. We have to get word from the mayor and just get an idea of where the city stands. So,
Stephanie, I've been hearing from my councilman here, Mark O'Neill. He has constituency that's really interested in the library and when we're going to open up and offer services again. So there's a little bit of a pulse and some feedback that I'm getting.
Well, in direct relation to that, we need funding to bring staff back to have that happen. So that's a catch-22 situation. Yeah, we want to open at some point, but to do so, as Kate knows, she needs funding to bring in staff to be able to do that. And all those aides that got cut, there were so many of them. How many were there at the time?
13.
Yeah, 13. I mean, they did a lot of that front work that there's no one there to do that now. So that's why Kate was good enough to give us that overview of reopening and what the picture looks like right now, what everyone's busy doing. because the minute we expand, she doesn't have the staff to do it.
I
So-
think we just have, and that's on a good day when everybody's healthy, we just have enough staff to add appointment-based 5 at a time computers at the main library only in like early to mid-October, and maybe add some evening hours, but evening hours is pushing it too. I mean, the staff that we need on, if we were to open to computer use, which I really want to do, I think it's very important. That's the one thing that we cannot give people virtually, because they need a computer to access our stuff virtually. To run curbside pickup and computer use and all the work that's behind those things of cleaning and sanitizing and organizing and greeting people and helping people with questions and answering the phones and pulling holes and doing the runs to the cars, that takes about 11 people at a time if we were to do all that together. We have a total staff right now in the building. We have a total staff of 20 people, 19 of which are working in the building. We don't have the bodies to do any of this. We can do opening to computers, but it's going to be very exhausting to people, and people do take vacations. They're welcome to. They have to do that. People do get sick. I have a lot of staff that are over the age of 65, or they have other health conditions where they are not able to be front facing. They are not able to run around and do the physical work because of other limitations. It's really pushing it. We can do it. It's going to ask a lot of all of 19 people to do all of this, but it's impossible to add any of these services at the branches because there's only 2 staff members left per branch at this point. And it's going to be exhausting for all of us, but the question of offering more services at the branches or opening up the main library to browsing, even disregarding the safety concerns, which are a big concern, we physically cannot do it. We don't have the people, we don't have the bodies, we can't do it.
Right. So that's definitely something we have to, that's the discussion right there. That's the crux of it right
Yep.
there. Yeah, Peter, go ahead.
I was just going to say, even if they hadn't laid off a single person and the library still had a full staff, I don't think you'd be able to open up right now, because all the additional responsibilities and steps that have to be taken because of the virus, we wouldn't be able to do that, even with a full staff.
Yeah.
I think that we could be looking at, if we had a full staff, I think we could be offering curbside from the branches in addition to the main library. I think that's the one thing that would be different. And we could probably have some evening hours right now, but opening up for computer use is honestly scary because of the cleaning of the computers that has to get done, and encouraging people to wear their masks at all times and follow the rules. Exactly. Yeah. A lot of this is safety based. And then in a perfect world, if we ignore safety, which obviously that's my number one concern, but in a perfect world, if we could figure out the safety protocols and guarantee that everybody would be a perfect human being and follow the rules and understand the rules, even with we can't do any of this.
I think in the, say, 6 months, it depends how the virus goes too.
Right.
Peabody is green right now. That's awesome. So say the trend continues in that way and we stay green, everything's positive and we can slowly open. I think that's what we're talking about. And we still can't do it. Like right now, Peter, I agree. Right now, even if we had the full staff, we're still limited because of the virus. But
Absolutely.
Down the road, when you want to, expand and start resuming all these great things we were doing, that the staff, we can't do it. But yeah, okay. Any other comments or questions for Kate? We'll hear a motion to accept the director's report.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Tom. All in favor? Okay, great. It's unanimous.
Just for a second, Kate, just based on your report, I would just hope that you would say to Eric and Jahira that we regret their leaving, but we thank them for their years of service and that we wish them luck in the future.
Absolutely. I'll pass that on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and now let's quickly run through our reports of committees. I don't have that in front of me, sorry. Audubon Prince is Dawn.
Nothing new to report, although I'm hearing what we're hearing tonight. And I realize that it's the city's responsibility, actually, not the library. We've been helping out with that. And I just want to say, just for the record, so that we'll know, I wasn't here when there was a move to sell the prints, but I was here when we started the restoration. And I just want to be very careful that we don't, for the sake of the library, that we don't forget about this. And unfortunately, from our godsend, Dr. Fauci, I have heard recently that we may not expect normalcy for several more years, perhaps 2024, before this is finally resolved with the vaccine and everything. So this isn't something that's going to be a rush, but I would like to make sure that we do state that this will be revisited as soon as possible. That's all I wanted to say to that. Thank you for your report, Kate.
Of course.
I apologize. Audubon Prince was Rick Shuhan, not you, Dawn.
Yeah, but I'm
sorry about that.
I answer to anything as long as I come down for supper, you know.
That's okay.
That's okay. He did a great.
Yeah. Okay. Buildings and
Wait a minute. Can I just follow up with that? I
Yeah.
think that, with what Don had to say, is that who is actually responsible for the preservation, conservation, and such that. And that's one of the things that I think the foundation raised at its meeting, and that we need to look into that.
No, it's the city. It's definitely the city.
Well, yeah, and how did it become the responsibility of the foundation?
Yeah, I think we picked it up. I don't know.
And how that all happened. So
Yeah.
I think that's something that needs to be clarified. And
Can I make a suggestion? Can we hold the conversation on this until you get a chance to read the 4 pages of our,
the what?
because I mean, sorry, I'm
Rita.
saying, can we hold, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of your questions are going to be answered when you go to the archives and read these 4 pages.
Well, exactly. Yes.
Okay, well, I can't send it to them.
Where is the lawsuit and the court decision related to the Audubon prints? And then who's responsible for what?
I don't think it's going to answer all your questions, but it's going to answer a lot of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's start there and see where we go.
Okay. So let me follow up with that and see what I can find in terms of the documentation that goes back into that.
Kate, maybe Eric, if Eric has anything, he can get his hands on fairly easily if he wants to share it. Well, maybe he can do us one last favor before he goes.
I can ask him.
That's right. I'll talk with Eric.
And I'll talk to him. I'll see him at the library this week.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him.
Okay.
We'll share. Okay. Thank you. And then on buildings and ground, Wes?
Buildings, I have nothing beyond the director's report.
Okay. Dawn, personnel?
Nothing except what we heard tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Kate O'Brien? Okay, thanks. Kate O'Brien, policies and procedures?
Nope, nothing else.
Nothing new. Okay. Morgan, the Friends?
Nothing new to report.
Okay. Well, is Al, now that she's the
Historical Commission.
Oh no, I was talking about Al, Kate, right?
Oh,
Kate Merlin, isn't she? Al has to step down from the Friends, or
She has resigned already.
has resigned, right?
Yes,
Okay.
She has resigned. She will. I assume she'll stay on. Alan, you can raise your hand and correct me if I'm wrong, but my assumption is she'll stay on as the traditional assistant director liaison. Friends, but she already a while ago stepped down as president. In
I missed that. Okay.
Anticipation of this whole thing.
Okay. Tom Pappas, the Historical Society.
yeah, I briefly spoke with Dick St. Pierre this past week, but nothing to report.
Yeah. Okay. And Anne, the foundation, anything additional?
Well, the foundation met on
Wednesday,
September 22nd, and the annual Starry Night fundraiser has been canceled, but the board agreed that it would be a nice thing to send letters of thanks to all those merchants who supported the event in the past. It's a way to keep in touch and to keep these businesses, aligned with us. So I and Daryl will be working on putting that letter together. And as we've discussed, there was a discussion about the whole business of funding for the Audubon prints. And it'll be important to get the actual documentation from the Secretary of State and the court about what the requirements are and the obligations are. And so we'll be working on that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to accept the reports of the committees?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Don. A second?
Second.
Tom Pappas, all in favor? Aye. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. So let's talk the Audubon prints then. A motion to suspend or delay the
I'll
restoration.
make a motion.
Okay,
Are you ready?
go.
I make a motion that the Peabody Institute Library put on hold the restoration of further Audubon prints until further notice and vote by the library trustees.
Rich, can you
Okay.
add something to that regarding the pandemic and the reason why we're doing this?
Yes. I make a motion that the Peabody Institute Library put on hold the restoration of further Audubon prints until further notice and vote by the library trustees due to budget cuts per the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank
Yes.
you, Rich.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'd like to second. Well,
Okay, Tom, thank you. All in favor? Raise your hand,
Uh,
please.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, no opposing. Thank you. Okay, and then new business. We had the discussion of the moratorium of the overdue fines for at least until January 1st. Any discussion or do I hear a motion?
Move the motion.
Morgan?
I motion to accept the proposal by the director to put overdue fines on hold.
Okay.
Period suggested.
Do I hear a second?
was that
Second.
until January 1st, 2021,
January
Kate?
21st.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So Madeline, that is up till January 2021. Morgan seconded that? Okay, and all in favor, hands please?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, all in favor. Thank you. Okay, and then as far as the staffing goes with these resignations, we need to, I just want to direct Kate to get these filled as soon as possible because they're very necessary positions for her to function. So keep in touch, Kate, on how that goes with, the city side with Beth, and if there's any issues, hopefully not, we can get Eric's position posted, get Jahira's position posted, and get that. That's first and foremost your priority because I know you need those bodies there. And unfortunately, he's only giving 2 weeks notice. If there's any training, I don't know how that's gonna.
The archivist job is definitely harder to fill because that's a very, so to back up that position, I plan and I've always planned on, if the opportunity presenting itself, to changing that job description slightly to focus more on the public services side. So a more public services and local history librarian than straight out archivist. Because I think the point of our archives are to share them with the public, because what's the point of keeping them locked away if we're not sharing them with people? So that will take a little bit of time to redo the job
Description,
job description.
Okay.
And then obviously we'll take training because it's a giant archives and collection to learn.
Right.
The position of West Branch Children's Librarian, I could easily see that being an internal candidate.
Okay.
That would be an easy just kind of swoop into the position, and then there might be a lower level position that needs to be filled.
Yeah.
These days I think that we would, for both of these positions, if we did go external, have the pick of the litter for these days, because a lot of librarians, as we know, have lost their jobs. So I think it's, unfortunately for people looking for jobs, it would be fortunate for us hypothetically. But we just have to get the okay to post these jobs and fill them, even though they were funded in the FY21 budget. I hope that there's no delay in filling the positions.
Okay.
Kate, I have a question regarding the archivist. Do archivists actually know how to preserve materials, and is that part of their specialty? And if we don't get an archivist that has that kind of a specialty or a person, is any of our collection in jeopardy of being damaged?
So some archivists do have the experience dealing with it. It depends on the person that you're getting for the job and what the specific job is. I believe that Eric does have experience with preserving things and cataloging things, and I don't think he has experience in actually like restoring things. But he does have experience in preserving things and the correct way to
Right.
handle, the correct way to store things, and the correct way to catalog them and make them available for people. I don't think that what he's working on right now is making sure that everything is in good shape to kind of leave it for a while,
Yep.
essentially.
Yeah.
A lot of our collection honestly hasn't been touched in 6 months, which is good for it. It's been in a, very temperature and humidity controlled in the Sutton room and in the vault, because we haven't been in and out like we normally are and turning off and on humidifiers. I think I think strangely probably an okay time to go without an archivist for a little bit, because we're not having the normal in and out of patrons and staff and the usual hubbub that we have in the Sutton room. With that being said, though, we have a lot of really valuable things that do need to be tended to and taken care of and cataloged, and not just sitting in a vault somewhere. I think that we have a very special collection, and we have been funded to keep this collection going and have an archivist to take care of it. And I would hope that it's a city priority to continue to kind of treat us as a historical archive and not just a public library. I think the stuff is okay for now, but I don't know if it's not an option to fill the position. It's not the option to have these things sit there indefinitely for a year, not being taken care of and just checked on. And it's not an option. I think that there's a lot of money tied up in all those really important historical documents and historical treasures that it would be a shame and a travesty to just let them fade away for the
Yeah.
cost of a part-time position, because it's a part-time position.
Yeah,
All
go
right,
ahead, Ann.
thank you.
Go ahead, Ann. Can you
Um,
hear me? Okay.
I'm particularly concerned about the archives issue, because I've been doing some research related to the George Peabody thing, as you know, but the whole thing about the Chickering piano. And I was down to the Essex Museum archives down there in wherever it is down
Rowley, I think.
Essex, Rowley. Right. They've got wonderful, wonderful papers related to George Peabody and such. And thinking for our own personal collection, I wonder if we need to make a real connection with the Peabody Historical Society here. There's somebody there who knows so much about the history and of George Peabody and the collection that we have. This is an important issue for us, I think, that we need to really pay attention to.
Yeah. Sure.
Bill, Kate, and how do you find someone who is going to care about this material?
Hopefully there will be someone out there, though. You never know.
I know that
Yeah.
Simmons College, the Library and Science Graduate School at Simmons, has a whole archives track, and there are frequently a lot of people in the track who can find jobs in archives.
Yeah.
So we'll find the right person, and I will do. But it's very important for me to have the person be also a librarian, not just an archivist, but also a librarian.
What's the difference?
The difference is the concept and the belief in public access. I think there are some archivists out there who believe in preserving things in archives for the sake of preservation and historical record, which is absolutely valid. I think that if you have a collection like this in a public library, it needs to be seen and accessed by the public as well, because we are all about access. So I think it would have to be because I do want to rewrite the job description to include more focus on public services and public access to them.
Sure.
I think that it's going to be, you have to be kind of a special person who is both a public librarian and an archivist. I'm sure they exist out there. We just have to wait until that person pops up.
Okay, good.
Okay, is this a position that could be part remote, or is it pretty much a hands-on position?
It has to be hands-on.
Yeah, okay, just curious.
I think that every position from now on has to be hands-on.
Yeah.
People are dropping like flies.
Yeah.
Honestly, a staff of 19 people in the building is kind of getting to like
Yeah.
comical levels.
Yeah.
So I think as soon as we open for computer use, we're going to have to ask everybody to come back the full 5 days a week, because we
Yeah.
can't have anything be done
Right.
off.
Right.
And archives especially need to be down. You need to be touching the stuff and preserving the things and
Right.
cataloging things. So
Okay.
have to be in person.
Okay, very good. So we'll just wait for an update for you on how your process is going. Yeah. Go ahead, Ann.
I just want to say to Kate, I think you're doing a fabulous job given these difficult circumstances. I'm amazed. So,
Thank you. It's not been easy, but for lack of sounding trite and warm and fuzzy, I have a really good team behind me, and I have the support of all of you and the foundation, the friends, and it's really, I think it's been as good as it could be in a pandemic, losing 17% of funding and 50% of your staff. We're learning to be very flexible and have senses of humors about things.
Yikes.
You can't not.
Oh my goodness.
To pivot and to be really open-minded and just do what has to get done and kind of put our heads down and barrel through and get it done, and really hope that nobody stays safe.
But I do want to revisit, once we get a better sense from the mayor, I do want to revisit our role as advocates. So, because I think we're going to have to, step it up a little bit in that regard. And just public awareness, like you had said, Ann, earlier too. I think that's an important role. People want it, but we got to have the funding to do it. And it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So we'll report back to when we have information on how that goes and when we're able to meet with the mayor and that
Can
kind
I ask a question?
Yeah.
Tom, are the patrons that your councilman was hearing from, what branch patrons are they?
He didn't give me any names. He kept that private.
What
But
brand?
he didn't give me any names. He kept that
okay.
private, but I'm from West Peabody here, so I can only guess it's the West Peabody branch.
Well, you know the fate of the West Library, so.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
What do you mean the fate of the West Branch Library?
Well, just that we can't offer services there right now.
Oh, right. And they have to drive. It's a far drive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially these days, yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, patrons are being really awesome about the drive. I think everybody understands that times are weird and people still want their books, so they're making the trek downtown, which is
Yeah.
great.
Good.
So no problems on that end, which is good.
I think that's all we have for tonight. Oh, did we do the moratorium? We already did that too. Okay, so I'm looking at the calendar for our next meeting date.
Okay.
And if we look to October, it's the 5th, which is really just a few weeks away. So we'll be seeing each other soon. So I guess October 5th at 7 p.m. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I just texted you and Kate. I have your cell phone numbers.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That
I saw that.
category, that's the category number. If you go to Peabody Institute, put that in,
Okay.
judgment, it pops right up. 4
Okay,
pages.
thank you. Thank you. Okay, so October 5th, 7 p.m. is our next meeting. And do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, great. All right, folks, thank you for, it's nice to see your faces. And I hope everyone stays well, and we'll keep in touch and see each other on the 5th.
Okay. You too.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.